How did I acquire the treasures from the Pirates of Dark Water cartoon for my action figures? Through the miracle of 3D printing. I just know a guy that got one and he had nothing better to print, basically. So a little geometrical work, making the 3D rendering of the treasures right from the cartoon using different drawings and screenshots from the show. And kind of measuring the scale of the action figures. We, mostly him, were able to make some scale treasures for the figures. Starting with the compass here, you can see printed just in the gold, but with a little bit of my painting. Kind of get a little bit of the colors from the show. Not too much of the intricate detail that you would see on the actual one when it's kind of zoomed in, but I kind of took the simplified toy approach since these are kind of older 90s action figures anyway. A little heat to give a curve here so it does fit on the figure, so you can have the compass that does lead him to the treasures, otherwise they can't really find them very easily. So one right from the get-go of the show and used in several episodes right there. The compass. Not specifically one of the treasures, but a necessary one to find the other treasures. And so the action figure came with his sword, but it's like a full-length sword, and in the show he had like a cut blade broken off. So one of the little projects was getting his kind of sliced blade, kind of looking a lot more like the show. Printed in like a gold material and then a little bit of a silver and red details painted on. And the action figures just have a kind of a whole hand there. It just needed to be small enough to fit down inside, and he can have his actual sword, which actually acts as a key to get into at least one of the places where the treasures were hidden. I always kind of theorized at the end of the show maybe he'd get it restored to the full length, kind of why the toy came with the full blade version. I always thought that was a cool style that he had this kind of broken sword, kind of had to use that as like a dagger. But that was Ren's main weapon, and I thought it kind of came out pretty cool there. We have the first treasure in the first episode, which is often depicted as some different shapes, so my 3D designer went with the flatter appearance, although in some screenshots it does seem to be kind of a rounder gem, but that's just some inconsistencies with the cartoon. A lot of drawings render it kind of this flat geometric shape, and I just have to kind of color it the shade. I mean, ideally you would get a resin 3D printer and print these with like the clear plastic. We were just kind of going simple here to start out, just as a little project, see if it could be done. But the first one just kind of up on a cliff. Now allegedly these treasures, Ren's father had them and then hid them, so he's having to re-find the treasures that were already kind of found. So that's the first one he has right away, probably gets stolen the most times since he had that from the start. The next treasure they find is from episode 3, a long kind of jewel, the same kind of color as well. But it was the crown from kind of Niddler's people, the monkey birds, took it out, and a piece of the crown was actually the treasure. Ren needs all these treasures to get rid of all the dark water in the world. A simple shaped one, but at least it's pretty unique with the long appearance. The next treasure they find in episode 6 of the show, and it's a little irregular shaped, one that's kind of hard to find good reference material of what shape or jewelry cut it's supposed to be exactly. And in the show they wouldn't really focus on the treasures so much. You'd kind of grab them wherever they were hidden and kind of move on with the challenge that was going on. They typically weren't the focal point that you were seeing all the time, so you just kind of get glimpses of these treasures. This is the one he had to use the sword as the key to get into the place where it was. Also where Tula was kind of discovering her magical abilities. So again, the focus on that kind of stuff. A little difficult to find the shape of this one, but I'm just having to paint it. The general color matches the other treasures. Next one, kind of a unique piece. Again, another one that they don't show very much. The episode they get it, episode 7, just show it for just a second. Given to them by a lady at the very end of the episode. Really a nasty episode. She kind of uses dark water and some magic to make herself beautiful again. Then she turns real nasty from it, because that dark water is just nasty bad stuff. It's like a little cool gold piece, just a little jewel in it. I'm not sure what exactly it was supposed to be, or how big it is. Sometimes it's depicted bigger, sometimes it's like very tiny in the palm of your hand size. So it's a strange one, but one of the treasures for my little lineup for the action figures. In episode 9, we get this treasure. Again, we don't even see them get it. Kind of off screen, Niddler just gets it from where it was. Again, the stories were typically about something else, and getting the treasure was just kind of like, okay, yes, that's why we're here and doing these things. Other things were going on, but it's a cool one, very kind of typical jewel shape as well, and finally a different color than that weird kind of turquoise all the other jewels had been. Throwing in a little different something color there. But I do like it. Finally, a lot more unique ones here from episode 10. Another one where they just kind of find it up on a mountaintop, but there's a lot of other story going on, but at least it's a kind of a cool, unique shape. Another one that it's kind of hard to depict what it's really supposed to be. Sometimes it seems like a cube, other times it seems like this dome. So that's what we went with. Was this kind of 3-jeweled dome sort of shape. But again, with the reference we had, there's not a lot of pictures, and they don't show or handle them very much in the cartoon at all. Even though you'd think it's kind of the main quest is finding the treasure. They don't show them a whole lot. At least it's a kind of a unique colored one to make it kind of a more colorful, cool group. And then episode 12, getting one treasure at the bottom of the sea. A little bit different, unique one. We get some good red here to break up the color scheme, a lot of these. Little details on the edge there too. And again, we can't really make them to scale with the figures, because then some of them would just be way too small. So we kind of had to enlarge them a little bit, just kind of make them a little cartoonier to match the figures. I think it's cool to have the treasures with the figures. Of course, the show was canceled before they get all 13 treasures. There's the 7 they find. Actually, before the show ended, there was an 8th treasure they do find, but it's not a jewel or gold piece at all. It's like a little creature. So I don't know if we'll really try to do a form of that one to print out to have with them, but it is cool just to have these jewels just kind of represent, since the show just did get canceled before you could see what all the treasures were like. The animation makes the show still worth watching now, even though you don't really get a satisfying ending. They just look really cool, and it's a cool visual and just that old style animation too. Always watch the show, and finally I got the action figures, so wanted to add the treasures to them, and then you can see all the action figures I go over in the next video here. We look at the heroes first, then on to the villains, and even their boat as well from the show. So leave a like if you like seeing these little treasures. If you want your own treasures, just pay me $1 million and I'll get another set printed and painted up for you. But otherwise, they're not really available. But thanks for watching.